I mentioned the way that UXers, the great problem solvers, go about solving problems was to understand the users, understand the content, and understand the context. I personally learned this approach by reading one of the foundational texts of information architecture. Information Architecture for the World Wide Web by Peter Morville and Louis Rosenfeld, more affectionately known as the Polar Bear book. And in this section, I am going to introduce to you how one goes about figuring out the first two steps, understanding the user and understanding the content. Let's begin with understanding the user. This part of the user experience designer's job is often the most glorified because it truly embraces UCD by putting the user at the center, and it is the part that sets UX apart from other technology disciplines. It sets UX apart because it is the time when we get to talk to the people or think like or empathize with the people who will be using what we build instead of working with those who just tell us how to build stuff. The purpose of understanding the user is to gain insights into the goals, needs, and tasks as best as we can of the specific user of the intended solution of the problem we are solving. In plain language, we want to better understand what the user of the thing we build needs from the thing we build in order for the thing we build to solve the user's problem. Thus, as we aim to understand the goals, needs, and tasks of the users of the product we are building, we UXers have steps to follow. First, we have to identify the specific users of the thing we are building. And when I say the specific users, I mean understanding some of the demographics of those users we want to study, like age, salary, marital status, but more importantly, understanding what behaviors we are looking to understand about our users. For example, do we want to understand what charities our users donate to? If so, we are looking for 1, people that use our product, that 2, give to charities. In short, we are looking to figure out what behavior types we are studying. We could do this by talking to business people or product people who are stakeholders in the effort, and also by talking to our marketing department or our customer service people. Second, we have to get some data about our users. We can do this using qualitative means or quantitative means. Either way, the overall term we use when we talk about uncovering user data is user research. You will hear this term a lot while in the field. In a nutshell, it's gathering data about users. There are many different forms that user research can take depending on the time, budget, and resources one has. One can conduct one-on-one user interviews where you talk to users about how they use similar products, what they like about those products, and what is missing from those products. In fact, one could do an entire deep dive into user interviews and how to structure them, but for our purposes, it's enough to know that they are one option for gathering user data. One can also look through quantitative data like analytics and search logs to understand what information users are looking at and where they are having site or product issues. We can send out surveys or even use marketing segmentation data to start to gather more data. There are, in effect, many different ways to gather information about your users, and the most important thing to remember is even when you don't have sign-off to do official user research, you, the UXer, must find a way to get some data in order to keep your designs user-centered. Most importantly is step 3, analyzing the research. Once you have gathered data about your users, you want to take a long, hard look at them, no matter how big or small your research process was. During this time, you want to define all of the different behavior types, where possible. Not just the different segment types, but different actions taken. An example of 2 behavior types with the web are those that search and those that browse. We define behavior types, and next we think through all the different and possible goals, needs, and tasks per behavioral type in order to answer the most important question of all for each type. What is it that the product we are working on provides this behavior type? If you can answer this clearly, then you understand your users. For example, for the search behavior types, we know that our product needs to provide a way to search quickly and efficiently while allowing one to manipulate those search results. This is the type of thing I'm talking about for understanding our users. The problem with most UXers is that this is where they stop. But we have 2 other areas to think about, and the second is understanding the content that your product will need to have in order to facilitate solving the user's problem. In this case, I'm using content in a broad sense, so not only are videos, articles, and pictures content, but I think of content as any piece of information that is being exchanged with the product, i.e., ads or content, forms or content, etc. The job of the UXer is to determine what content the user needs from the product in order to solve their problem, reach their goals, and complete their tasks. UXers work to understand the content in a multitude of ways. Our research should provide us with a good idea of what content users need, like, and what is missing. We can also conduct content inventories, which are usually large spreadsheets documenting the content that a product includes and needs. This task is usually the responsibility of a content strategist, but any UXer can create one. It just may not be as good as when a professional content strategist does it. And we do this in order to record what content exists and where there are gaps. We could do task analysis with our users to see which content they need and what content is missing from a product. We could talk to the technology team about their CMS, or content management system, and understand what that includes and how and when it gets updated. Bottom line is understanding the content is an important piece of the experience puzzle. Understanding the user and the content are building blocks of UX, but combining these with a context for action is the key, and that is what we'll be learning next. I know that I've thrown a lot of terms out there in this section, and that many of you are probably thinking, this is great, but what is a task analysis? What is a content inventory? What are those things in detail? I would, of course, love to dive into each of these more. However, this is a UX basics course, and my aim is to introduce these thoughts and terms to you with the goal of bringing a broad view of UX to light. The UX profession spans across many different professions, and my goals in introducing these terms to you is that you have the start in going out and finding more about whichever interest you have. Now, on to context.